Oh, I'm good, thank you. Just got back from the gym.
Mm. Getting it in
So
behind.
every day after work, I just go to gym. It's a good way to keep my energy levels high.
Well, every day.
Yeah, after work. Finish work about, depending on the day, let's say 5 max. I just go straight there. Don't care what I'm doing in the evening. Make sure I get the gym session.
Yeah. I find it helps to decompress as well. I just feel like after a training session, like I can deal with the stresses of life so much more. Like nothing really else matters.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. A lot of people use gym for mental health. I just use it because I'm young and there's no excuse not to be training at a young age.
So do you not find it helps your mental health?
Listening to music can help your mental health. Anything can really help your mental health.
So you
Just
don't
depends
think
how you use it.
so you don't think
No, gym
exercise-
can. No, gym can. No, absolutely. But for me, I personally don't use gym as a form of mental health. I've got other things for that. Gym is just a way, like you're young, you've got full of energy, especially as a man. Like, come on, I've got a lot of too much vitality, and I think I just don't want to waste it. Train, express it, stress, work, train, improve your health, because the mind is only as strong as your body. And if you have a weak body, you've got a weak mind. Or no, you can have a strong mind and a weak body, but when the body fails, the mind automatically fails with it. I think that Nietzsche wrote a lot that all philosophy begins with the health of the body. If you're not healthy and you're always in bed, how are you going to think?
So that's what motivates you to go to the gym. Or is
If
it?
you've ever laid in bed ill and tried to think about deep things,
Yeah, man, you can't. You just
impossible.
sort of eat like
It's impossible.
lemsip and go to sleep.
Yeah, exactly. And imagine if you're in that state all the time, every
That's
other
it.
week, once a month, 3 times a month. The body gives up on you, bro. And your mind, the problem with that is your mind is a slave to it. No way. Like, oh God. You yeah.
It was one of the Stoics who, I think it was Seneca, who said, we treat the body rigorously so it's not disobedient to the mind.
Yeah, that captures that nicely. I agree.
Well, I only go gym like 4 times a week, but I reckon if I did go every day in the morning, my days would probably be better and it'd probably be worth that 1 hour and a half time that it takes me to go to the gym.
And it'd be nice then, because it would be like non-negotiable. Like you get up and you go to the gym, like you do when you brush your teeth. Like it's just something you do, you know.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you just got to motivate yourself. There's even that, even the greatest trainers in the world still have to motivate themselves at some point to go gym. It's not easy. Go to in idea, yeah, the gym's nice. You go there, you lift weights, you sweat a little bit, but when you're actually there, like you actually have to do it, you know.
Would you not struggle with like a lack of resting time if you're going every day?
I'm 24, bro. I'm young.
But like your muscles like not still growing if you're going every day?
Yeah, my eating and sleeping must be off then, isn't it?
I think it depends how you train as well. Because if you're like training full body, like squat, bench, deadlift to failure every day, like that's not going to be good. But like you can balance it up and program it so that every day is a doable thing, you know.
Yeah, and that's what we call a training plan.
The thing that I'm bursting to know, Riyad, is you saw Jordan Peterson live
Oh yeah.
like the other month. Like how was that?
Oh man, what a love and hate relationship I have with that guy. Ever since then, I've never watched a Jordan Peterson video again.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm just not interested in him anymore. It's kind of like once I was there, I was watching him, was looking, and I was like, okay, I'm done with him now. Like he basically just spoke about everything he always speaks about on social media at the tour. And then you realize he goes on these tours all the time, every month, every week, in every city, in every country. I think, does he talk about these same things in every single country? It's a kind of like a musician artist now. It's like, okay, conversation and intellectual dialect is cool, but when it's rehearsed, is it cool? Then they brought out Ben Shapiro, and then that ruined it because I don't like him. And then But yeah, and Jordan Peterson is a walking contradiction for me because he talks about, the tyrant, society, about freedom of speech, the tyrant, about how it takes one person telling the truth to topple a tyranny, but then he supports Israel, so it makes no sense to me. Clearly, he's someone who, has agendas.
Yeah,
you can't be a vessel of truth.
Let's rewind a sec. So did you go and see him at the art conference thing that they were doing in London at the O2? Yeah. Was it that one? Mm-hmm. And when you say he was on stage talking about all the things he talks about online, was it heavily political focused rather?
Okay, so he started off with Carl Jung's hierarchy. Then he spoke about marriage and the importance of how your partner is an extension of yourself. Okay, Jordan, we've discussed that before already. Then he went on to talk about what did he talk about? He talked about something else that he always talks about. The dark triad of personalities. I was like, okay, heard that before. Then he went on to talk about religion, Christianity, the power of God. I think, okay, heard that before. And then it just felt like I was rewatching everything I see on social media, but in real life now.
Mm.
But he's cool. He's an intellectual. But the best part of it was the first 45 minutes when it was just him talking. Because when he brought on the other guests, he brought on Douglas Murray, who's really cool. Ben Shapiro, waffle salad, and then you had
Jonathan Pajot.
On Borson. Jonathan Pajot, yeah. Well, Jordan Peterson has to carry him every conversation. I know, Pajot, the only time I've seen him really, really impressive is on the Exeter show. But other than that, the guy, I'm just like, he's so one-dimensional. That's the problem. It's just so... Every point relates back to God. Every concept relates back to the Bible. Every concept relates... I'm thinking, okay, I get it, but it's still a very one-dimensional argument. And the problem is with these, cliques of intellects is that they don't challenge each other anymore. Because there were some things Ben Shapiro was saying, and I'm thinking, I just love if Jordan Peterson just broke their friendship for 5 seconds and actually went at each other. But Ben Shapiro's a clever man. You have to surround yourself with intellectuals who do that. You cover up your lack of intellectuality. I think, Ben Shapiro just does my head in, man. But yeah, it was a good show. It was good, but it lasted 3 hours. I didn't finish it. I got 2 hours in, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm done. I'm going home. Wow. And I've spoken so many times on my podcast how great Jordan Peterson is, but I didn't feel like I took anything new away. I can't speak for everyone at the show. I'm not saying this is a consensus for everyone I've met. This is just personally me. I know what I like and I know what I don't like. That's just me personally.
I mean, normally Jordan's for me, he's the best when he is going off the top of his head, linking all these ideas.
I agree.
Right. Yeah. And that surprised me when you said he's rehearsed it for
It sounds rehearsed, yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, if you're doing it in Dublin, London, Manchester, Prague, Budapest, Paris, Netherlands, you can even hear it in the guests that they're talking about the same things again because the passion in the voice isn't there. And when you're talking about something you care about, but there's no passion, it means you've already spoken about it many times. And Nietzsche said a great quote once. He goes, once you share your knowledge, you fall out of love with it. And it's clear that a lot of them shared so much of their knowledge, they fell out of love with it. So they don't even speak of it in a way of love anymore. It's just, okay, this will get us paid. Let's keep talking. Because they like to hear this. That's what it feels like.
Interesting.
Again, this is my opinion. Who am I? I'm a nobody.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting point. I mean, I guess everyone got their Spotify Wrapped recently, right? And I took a screenshot and sent it to Jacob, the amount of minutes I'd spent on his podcast. But his podcast isn't, I don't listen to the newer stuff. It's all the old lectures that he has on there from 2018.
I would advise everyone watch that stuff too.
Yeah. So it was. I listened to 6,349 minutes this year, right? And then if I go to a show live, everything he said I probably will have heard before.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Once that magic of it's live and he's in the same room as you fades, it is just that. So that's an interesting point. But I'm guessing that's not the reaction that me and Jacob expected. So
no, you know what it is? I was just dying for him to talk about Israel and Palestine. I was dying for it. Honestly, when he brought Ben Shipper out, I thought they were going to talk about it. But it was that blue ball in me. I'm sitting there you was just on Piers Morgan a day before this episode. yapping about why you can justify, you know, modern day colonialism, and then you're up here talk about institutionalism, and I'm just like, come on, man. But anyway, what do I know? I'm a nobody.
Me and Joel basically know nothing about the war with Palestine and Israel.
Oh, well, you should.
What was his points with like Palestine?
I can't. It's really nuanced to really get into it, but he's just justifying that Palestine is Israel's land, and everyone that's non-Jewish should basically get out. And he's countless times. I can't bother to go through it, nor do I have the evidence and the proof in front of me to show you like what he said. But many times he's called Arabs dogs and non-human and people like violent terrorists, and they should get out. And Israel is basically a land for the holy, and he belongs to it. But the whole beef between Israel and Palestine begun for around World War One, when the British wanted to separate the tension in the trenches and make the war much more winnable. So how did the British do it? They do it by diplomatic means. They're very good at that. That's probably their secret weapon in history. It's diplomacy, politics, getting you to sign agreements that you never knew what you were signing up for in the first place. You could even argue that people who've done Britain in history are kind of like doing the deal with the devil in a way. If you do a deal with Britain, you're desperate. And the Arabs, they were threatening the Ottoman Empire, and then the Turks almost were revolting, and then the British funded the Arabs. Who was his name? Sharif Hussein, I think his name is Sharif Hussein. And Sharif says, okay, give us money. And then they done a revolution, and blah, 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 blah. 100 million things happened in that meantime, into World War One. Found out the British done the exact same deal for the Zionists and Theodore Herzl's, Zionist followers. And then they said, you know what, after the Balfour Declaration, you can have Palestine, it's yours. So yeah, this is all British politics. But you'll never hear that in the news. They will say America, Israel, they'll never mention Britain. But Britain, if they really want to redeem themselves, especially because of their colonial history, helping Palestine, that would be a good way to cleanse your sins.
So is that they're quite biased in the news?
Oh. Have you heard of what I've just said to you before?
No.
I was trying to process it.
Yeah, that's the point. You haven't heard it. The worst thing you can do is learn this conflict through social media. Just buy books, go to the library, go to the war section. There's like millions of them. I just picked up a few at the library and just started reading one, highlighted it, made loads of notes, read another one. So I read like a pro-Palestinian one, and a pro-Israeli one, and a neutral one. That's a good way to get around the opinion. And no matter how you look at it, Israel the villains.
Yeah,
because it's really ironic. It's so ironic. They're a hyper-religious cult essentially, and they believe in the Torah and the biblical stories X, Y, Z. But they so happen to be the Goliath in the story. How ironic. They have nuclear weapons. Palestine doesn't have anything. Doesn't that not make you think? Yeah, it's the perfect story of David versus Goliath. And interestingly enough, so-called, because Zionists, not Jews, they're different. Zionists are Goliath in a way. In poor little Palestine, no investment, no funding from America, Britain, no propaganda that makes us feel sorry for them across the West or the media. You've got Piers Morgan pretending that Hamas is Palestine, but Hamas were only made in the last 20, 30 years, and this has been going on since 1917, and they won't tell you that Israel funded Hamas at the beginning to create internal conflict within Palestine, because the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, was the head authority. So they invested in Hamas to create a little sect, and obviously Hamas are made up of jihadists, Islamic extremists. Blah-de-da, and it's just a tiring subject. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
It's like no matter how much you put your voice out there, there's always those who will, you guys know, always willing to say something about anything.
Yeah, we get a lot of hate.
Yeah, I've noticed that, your comments, they're actually quite interesting. It seems to be the same type of accounts, the same type of profiles, the same type of... It's never really someone you would see with their own pictures. It's a lot of account looking like... And it shows its weakness. They can't show their face. They can't show.
It's interesting, like the haters kind of only last for a certain amount of time, and then once we keep posting more and more, they sort of disappear, and then it's just new ones.
Yeah, but I think you also got to take the hate as a sign that's of it. You have to innovate somewhere. That's one thing. Not all hate is unnecessary. Some hate could be good. You know what I'm saying?
Well, what I've kind of done is, because I think TikTok's very entertainment driven, and I think people like hate because it's drama and stuff. So people impart.
Don't ever delete the negative comments, man.
Yeah,
because if they get into your videos and there's no negative comments, it shows that you're positives too, like you're deleting them. But negative comment, what's if someone watches your video one day and sees the negative comments and go, actually, I don't actually feel what they are saying. He had a point. It drives them even more to want to like you now because they know you're getting hate, even though they think you got undeserved hate. That's how you create a loyal following.
Do you get much hate on your account?
Yeah, but I wasn't as strong and brave as you lot at the beginning. I used to delete it all. I couldn't bear looking at it. But like with you guys, seeing how you deal with it, I don't care about it anymore. Like, honestly, seeing how you lot deal with it made me change how I look at it. I'm thinking these guys clearly don't give a F. Why am I giving an F?
On TikTok especially, I now adapt myself so that the clips I post on TikTok, I kind of already can see the comments, so that I know if they get more hate, they're likely to do better. And most of our success in terms of views does come from TikTok.
Yeah, same. I just go on TikTok, I just post and I get off now. I don't even look at the comments. I just post, and my notifications right now are 99 plus. Like I don't even look at it. I just post, keep posting. Because when I wanted to track it, I just think too much. I just want ignorance right now. I'm literally choosing ignorance.
I mean, with all of these things, it's a game of consistency. It's like who can just show up for the longest, and if you iterate on the process throughout that time.
But it's consistency and innovation.
That's what I'm saying, though. You iterate as you go across time, improving as you go naturally as things work, and then you get where you need to go.
Do you think, right, because me and Joel want to do this for a very long time, do you think we will ever run out of stuff to talk about?
Well, good question. Do you think you will ever run out of things to learn about?
No, I also think that you never run out of anything to talk about because we change as people throughout the process. That's it, and you're constantly evolving, and you generate your own lessons and things that you're thinking about, and things like you say, things that you've learned. I think if we remained 19 years old for the next 20 years, yeah, we'd run out of things to think about because we just get used to the way our lives are now. But we're gonna change physical location. What we want is going to change. What we believe is going to change. What we prioritize is going to change. We're going to have families. We're going to have different jobs. It's just all going to be so different. And what we're interested in is going to change. That I don't think it ever runs dry in that way.
Muhammad Ali said a quote. He goes, "If you're the same man as you were at 20 and at 50, you wasted 30 years."
True.
Very true. Such a basic quote, but so true.
Well, I read a quote today that was like, "Beware of wisdom that you have not earned." I think it's by Young. What does that mean?
It sounds like it's all theory, not from experience. There's wisdom you can learn from experience firsthand. But I mean, do that again. And there's experience you can learn by reading a book. Do you understand it?
Sorry, my interpretation of wisdom that you haven't earned is when you claim to know what you're on about when really there's nothing. Like it's so easy to say something you've learned or some theory that someone else had or just claim to care about something or claim to be a certain type of person when behind closed doors you don't have to be that kind of person. Like it's very easy to be courageous or like not be, but appear courageous, appear compassionate, and appear empathetic without actually being those things, or like appear moral when you're not actually that behind closed doors.
I suppose it could be stuff that you've heard other people talking about and then you're using their words when you don't really understand yourself.
Yeah. It's like
implementation
with no depth. That's it. Imitating someone. Like, I think that a lot of myself, like all the things, well, not all's a strong word, but the majority of the things I say that I think are intelligent are things I've heard someone else say. And it's like I have to go out and have life experience to generate my own versions of those things. But in a way,
it's so easy to point that out as well. When people say things, I know it's not really their opinion or a saying or some advice they give, and I know it's not theirs. You know how you undermine it? Or you're not a question you ask.
Because
we say that.
We have like consumed a lot of stuff from people that we admire, and it's that thing of you are a part of the top 5 people you hang around with, but then is there the people like that I've watched hundreds and hundreds of hours of, and people that I listen to every day, their opinions then become mine, and I think that could be sort of what that quote's trying to say as well.
That's true. I think that's what Foucault says, knowledge is power, and the fact that in society we rely on too much for others to be knowledge for us. So because someone has a psychology degree, that's authority of knowledge. We rely on their authority to be the basis of our knowledge. So we're more likely just to believe whatever they say. So if you go on Instagram and see, say, me talking about philosophy, you're more likely to swipe past. If it's suit and a tie, Dr. Riyad Hacib, you're more likely to listen. That's the authority of knowledge.
Well, that's what they found in like social influence research, that even just like someone wearing a lab coat rather than normal clothes made someone like a significantly more likely to do something that they wouldn't do otherwise. Those signs and signals play an interesting role in what we listen to and believe. Like, yeah.
Also, to go back to your point, Jacob, it's much better to get opinions off dead clever people than the ones that we have nowadays. Because nowadays there's something called agenda. Netflix has an agenda. Everything on there has an agenda. Disney Plus, an agenda. Social Instagram influencers, agenda. It's all agenda. But dead philosophers, dead artists, dead writers, their works can be twisted into a modern day agenda. Do they have their own agendas of their time? For sure. But the beauty about them is that you can strip away the wisdom or the beauty behind their works and leave the agendas behind of their time. Nowadays, it's quite hard to do that because they're alive, pretty much. And we're in the modern day. So it's quite hard to see a politician and go, you know what? Like Trump, for example. I guarantee when he dies, a lot of people will be stripping away his great wisdom quotes or stuff like this and heroic admire him. Why? Why is that? But right now it's not easy to do that. You'll get rid in 10 years after he dies or whatever. People will be like, oh, forget his political policies. The guy was a great man, you know. People look to Trump for the future, not for the present people for the future. It's weird. It's a good, weird example, but I hope you get what I'm saying here.
Right. We use a lot of past knowledge to predict the future. I'm referencing Kanye here, but he always says to look to the future, not the past. And it's better to use the people now.
Yeah, I'm a believer in the past. The present is just a bridge from the past to the future. The past always saves the future. The present is just the time to take what didn't work from the past and see how it could apply to the future. Most innovations are something they found in the past, but they just tried it again today and it works. Didn't work then, but it works now. Any inventions, philosophical ideas, political policies, economic policies, so many of them. 200, 300 years time, someone might try out communism again in Europe. Who knows? It's just going through an era of fatigue. That's it. It's just a fatigue era. Tired of everything. Too much in your face this, too much in your face that. Sometimes the past is the most beautiful way to escape from all of it today.
The past does seem better.
Yeah, because the media can't catch you in 1823 in a novel.
Yeah, but you're also in a higher level of poverty and have to struggle more just to like eat and stuff, you know, back then. I hear your point of like, you know, there'd be less stimulation and less news and less agenda, but like, what would I trade my living conditions now for 1800s living?
Oh no, I wouldn't either. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying we're living the greatest era of humanity, without doubt. Bit dismissing that. But I'm just saying, if we talk about intellectuality, it's a hard era to be an intellectual. It's probably the hardest era in history to be an intellectual.
And do you think, therefore, the best kind of way to approach things is to try and cut out the noise, get away from these agendas that are trying to impose themselves upon us, kind of be let's say, an intellectual hermit in the way that you try and just focus in on the wisdom that you're trying to generate through your own life, right?
In your youth, yes. But at some point, you're going to have to take a side. Or
take a side, what, politically? Philosophically?
Whatever. The 20s is just a time for experimentation. I can confidently tell you the last 6 years, I've believed so many different things, and I'm at a point where all the things I believed when I was 19, I'm not sure anymore. Everything I used to believe at 20 doesn't apply anymore. The 20s is just a great time to experiment intellectuality, because you find around you those young people that cling on to movements or social justice kind of things are super passionate, aren't they? Super passionate. Wear it out on their sleeve. It's called the pride of youth. The sin. And I'm not religious. It's just a sin. It's a great example of that. I don't know, bro. It just depends on who you are. Me personally, I like to go by Plato's teachings, where in the second book of the Republic, he's talking about the education in Athens for the youth. And they talk about Homer, and he's talking about the stories in the Republic. In Homer, and Socrates is like, this is bad stories. We're teaching young kids to become like Achilles, murder and kill and fight everyone if you don't get your way. Then they taught the kids how to be like Odysseus in the Odyssey, lie and manipulate your way to whatever you want. And then Plato was like, there's a problem. We need better heroes. And he creates the hero of Socrates, a man who uses rationality, reason, logic. People don't know this, but Plato used Socrates as a way to replace Odysseus and Achilles in Greek society. And why? Because the youth are molded by the stories they're given. And nowadays, the youth are given highly agenda-filled films. Documentaries are highly agendaed. What's another one? A heavy emphasis on serial killer shows, fear. Heavy emphasis on just negative shows like Bad Surgeon, Bad Doctor, Bad Teacher, Corrupt Police Officer. Just feeding the youth how evil and terrible and fearful the world is, creates more despair. It's interesting how Plato and Socrates' argument still applies today. You need to teach the young from early positive stories, and they're not getting that anymore. And if they do, like the Napoleon movie, okay, I thought, wow, finally, a movie that can inspire the youth. They go, don't even watch that. Don't watch that. It's a mess. They made Napoleon a whiny, wimpy little man who didn't look like he knew what he's doing. But then on the battlefield, leading hundreds of men on the horse, brave, and then the next scene, a whip. You know what they're trying to do? De-inspire you. They don't want you to even look up to Napoleon. They want you to look up to no one. Whoever they put in front of the TV is who you are allowed to look up to. It's a way to ruin history for you. Again, it's not for the adults, it's for us, our age. Oh, you think Napoleon was this great man? Okay, let me ruin that for you. And they show all these bad examples of him. You go away with this image burnt in your head that Napoleon was running away crying from it makes no sense, this film. But
they do that to suppress the modern day man to not be great.
Nah, I don't know. That's a romantic title. Don't demoralize anyone. Tell women that they're suffering all the time. You're a victim, you're suffering, you're a victim. And then tell them that their enemy isn't the system or anything. The enemy's men. Men are the problem are the reason for all your problems. Well, if you create men and women divided from each other and you can't make a strong family, a strong household, then you're easier to control and easier to manipulate. The family is the most hardest thing for any social control. Because if men and women love each other, it's harder to control two than one. But divide them, easier. It's all about social control. And I hate conspiracy theories. Again, that's another good example. Negativity, fear. Despair, the world is poor, the world is this, the world is that, oh my God, life is hard. Demoralizing a generation. Welcome to 2023.
Yeah, there's an absence of good heroes. Like that. I like
But even if there is, even if they are good heroes, they have an agenda.
So do you think it's
I don't know.
really possible to be to have a good influence without influence without an agenda? Do you think that's possible or not?
Nah, it's possible. It's possible. Listen, I'm not dismissing that. It's absolutely possible.
Thing is,
So,
it'll probably get worse in 2024. Like, I don't know if I can see any big change in the ideologies.
If anything, it's gonna get more extreme. But so that being the case, then
we're reaching a boiling point. Watch, you ain't seen nothing yet. I am a big believer this is an end of an era. We're gonna see it soon.
And what is that?
Not like an apocalypse. I'm just saying a lot of things are coming to a boiling point. You're just coming to like did you look at society before World War One? So much tension, ridiculous amount of tension in society, in Europe, living standards, foreign policy. It all got to a boiling point and it exploded. Same with the Napoleonic Wars, same with the 100 Years' War, same with the 30 Years' War, same with World War II, same with Vietnam, same with the Cuban Missile Crisis. Humanity always get to this point of extreme tension and something happens. Nowadays, would it be a great nuclear weapon? People, no, that won't happen. Something's going to happen.
AI?
Probably. I don't know the answers. I'm just saying. I can feel the tremors coming. I can feel the tremors already. There's tremors happening. I mean, all it takes is for a war between China and India, and we're finished. Well, you haven't heard about that yet, have you?
No, I haven't.
Wait, give it 5-10 years, you'll hear a lot about that problem. But India and China are the two most populated places on Earth, isn't it?
Yeah.
They only have one real water supply. One is building a dam on the supply. One is complaining. Who do you think is complaining?
China? India?
Yeah, China. They're trying to hog the water quick. It's going to be called the Great Water Crisis, for sure. Pakistan are involved. I think India a few years ago tried to build a dam on the waters of Pakistan. I forgot the name of the river or the water source, but Pakistan said that's a declaration of war you're doing, and they completely stopped. But Google it after this, especially if anyone's watching. Go type up the tension between India and China. It's already begun. They've already had meetings and discussions because the climate crisis, China's aging population, and India's growing population. India will be the most populated country on Earth by 2030, 2040 or something like that. So that's going to pop off. Then you have what other issues? Then if China get aggressive from Taiwan, kind of like an Israel and Palestine kind of issue, who knows? So there's so many fracture points. Like, for example, Russia, they have an aging population. They could lose half their population by 2050. America could lose 30 to 45% of their population by 2050. China could lose half of their population by 2050. South Korea could lose half their population by 2050. So there's so many things that are going to change soon. Right now, we're in the good part. Life is good right now. Who knows? One place I'm going to be, the Middle East. That's where I'm going.
Because they're building like sort of utopian cities and like
History shows you when you get there first, you benefit the most.
that does make me pretty scared about the future.
No, don't. Because the one thing that always defeats the future is optimism. And this is out of our control. Be a stoic. All we can do is not complain about the culture. We can only provide for the culture. We can only create our conversations in service to the culture. Not to ourselves. We're nothing got to do with it. We're just a vessel of a message that thousands before us have tried to do. It's just our turn at it.
If the Middle East would be the safest place.
I don't want to say that. But for me, I'm a teacher right now. I'm doing my teacher training. Then when I get my PGCE, my QTS to be a qualified teacher, I stayed here. no alcohol, no clubs, nothing. Just no crime, no gangs, no worrying, no hyper surveillance state. Just peace and serenity, man. And Arabs are good people, very, very good people.
Thriving society.
And history shows you, if you're there first, you win. Went to America during the Gilded Age, you're a good guy. If you invested at the beginning of Bitcoin, you win. If you were there at the beginning of Apple or Microsoft, you're good.
Yeah.
And Middle East, for me, is a good example of this. Very good example. Because a lot of their organizations and corporations are made up of American and European employees. I think 80%. But people in Britain like Britain. They don't want to move. Because Britain's a really good life. It's a super good life over here. Contrary to people's belief, how many people travel and come back to England like, oh, it's sunnier there, but I prefer to be here?
And why do you think that is?
Because Britain is so weird. I think it's such a tough but fair country. I think everyone suffers in this country at some point. Doesn't matter if you're a man, a woman, what race you are, or religion you are. Everyone gets it tough here, you know? Look at the House of look at Parliament. Look how diverse it is. Crazy, man. Our Prime Minister is literally from an ancestry that used to be colonized by Britain. Does that not blow your mind?
Yeah.
It's kind of, but no one talks about it. It's the equivalent of Barack Obama becoming president. But no one talks about it here because we don't have that mentality here. Weird. British mentality is weird. I would love to read up on it one day to really understand it. I read something Niezcshe once. Yeah, it was so interesting. I had to send to my friend. He said the British are so incredibly clever. They made Sunday so boring. There was a day of fast from work that they were so bored on a Sunday they couldn't wait to go back to work on Monday.
Wow. Well, isn't Sunday like the church day though?
Britain was an industrial country, the first one in history to have workhouses, factory working, mass production. If you make Sunday, everything's shut, everything's super boring. It's a fast. It's a day of fast in a way. And then Monday, you can't wait to go back to work, honestly. It's really, I'm not sure if that's true, but it's something that made me think about that. Well, we could really do a whole podcast on Britain itself. Because it's a weird but interesting country. Because the fact that this little thing conquered the world is crazy to me. And has the potential to do it again at some point.
With like
That's a crazy line. And Britain always relies on itself in a way.
with like a disadvantage in resources and land.
Well, yeah, America is just the glowed up version of Britain. Geography that isolates itself, you know. Blah, blah, blah. But British geography is the biggest defense ever. The minute Britain came together and sorted out its navy and you can't invade Britain, they were set. There was just one mission, they were just going up and up. I don't know, man. Like, it's just an interesting life we live. We live in a good country. Very, 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 very good country. Compared to most.
Yeah, I agree.
That's why everyone from around the world lives here. Think about how diverse England is. Has to be some consensus. Why is no one going? Why not when you go Germany, France, Spain, come Britain? Good life here, man. It's just miserable. That's all it is. Good but miserable.
Why do you think it's miserable?
No, it's good but not luxury. And it's right,
good. Yeah.
Because the weather, it's like the weather and stuff like that. The weather just doesn't help. It's not like great beaches here, or there is one in Bournemouth and stuff like that. But I'm talking about like super beaches, you know.
Yeah. Because that's just the price you pay, isn't it? Really. You know.
Yeah.
But I also think there's this British like cynicism that I'm not a huge fan of generally. Just like
I'm not amused.
Yeah, I feel I don't know whether we don't encourage each other enough in Britain. I don't think we don't like seeing others do well all the time.
Mm-hmm. Are people nicer in other countries?
I don't know if they're nice because I'm just British.
Yeah,
you never really know.
Yeah, like the small bit.
I mean, good and bad exists everywhere. But British people, you're right. They're not very supportive of each other. very like snobby mentality, you could say. I don't know, bro. It's just interesting. I really don't know. I haven't still sussed out why British people don't hail each other creatively or support each other. Even of our own English football players who play for England are some of the most torn apart people in the media you'll find. Some of our greatest ever musicians, British media news outlets will tear them apart. It's kind of like no man or woman is allowed to be bigger than the herds in Britain, except the Queen herself.
Tall poppy syndrome, isn't it? We don't like. Because I think when you see people doing better, it points out insufficiencies in you. But
Paul, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but then it's interesting that even with that mentality, we build ourselves up to such a great degree, even though we don't have this like American dream idea that people need to go and prosper. It's just like, get on with your job, shut up.
Yeah, British know what they like and they know what they don't. They know what they like and they know what they dislike. Like the fact that people still watch EastEnders blows my mind.
Yeah. That's ridiculous, isn't it? Like, most of the TV.
Coronation Street.
Put your life in the bin.
Yeah, it's just a perfect example of we know what we like and we know what we don't like. British people are just so... Just the culture is so set in its ways. It doesn't really have room for innovation. The only innovation British culture has really produced is guilt, where they feel sorry for how powerful they once were. Sorry, guys, we kind of colonized your country. Sorry, guys, we kind of done this stuff to you. That's the only thing British culture has really adapted. Even then, there's some British people like, what? I don't care. That's ours, mate. Winner keep all. Britain is such an interesting. I wish we could live here and understand how weird this country is. So weird. Even the people as well.
Yeah, I feel like
I don't know.
I feel like creativity is definitely suppressed, and people are not very experimental here with their decisions. But I don't know how we change that.
But that's so new. Well, first of all, Britain has always been kind of like a secular society anyways. I said for a society to be kind of highly imaginative, highly creative, and highly appreciative and idealistic, it can't be secular. If you have a society where they value science and no gods, isn't God the highest imagination you could think of? If you don't even value that, how are you going to see? God is the highest ideal you can think of. And if that ideal doesn't even exist in the first place in your society, you're not going to value other ideals in a way. And British have always been known as the pragmatics. They like what works. They don't like dreamy conversations, dreamy artwork. They like what works. That's why Oscar Wilde wasn't really appreciated in England. Look at his books and novels, poetry, so la-di-da, so idealistic, so many symbols and images and flagrants. But then you read someone like Dickens, just da-da-da-da. British people love that. Pragmatic, it's practical, you can use it. All the idealist stuff, leave it to the French or the Italians. They can deal with that stuff.
I'm not familiar with Oscar Wilde.
Oh, he should be. What a writer.
Yeah, we studied
The Picture of Dorian Gray.
Yeah, we studied that at A level.
You get to study that. What a book, bro. What a book.
Corker.
It's an artistic masterpiece. I would love to have seen him in his mindset when he wrote that, because it's so beautiful. He goes to influence a man is immoral. It's like to set his soul in... What is it? Is to influence a man is immoral. It's to make him the star of a show that isn't even his. It's yours. Something like that. It says something else as well. It goes, you think you're helping the man, but you're setting his passions on fire with your own flame.
Yeah.
And then when that flame goes out, he doesn't know how to relight it or something like that. Oh, what is page 34? It's between Lord Henry, Basil the painter, and Dorian. That Lord Henry character, what a character.
Yeah,
The best.
Iconic.
What
absolutely iconic.
So good. It's okay. And it's a short book, 163 or 64 pages.
Mm. Yeah, I can give you mine, Jake, 'cause it's got my A-level annotations in it as well. That'd be interesting.
Don't let him have that. Let him find it for himself.
All right. Yeah.
So really, I've always wanted to write like a modern day version of that story, you know? That when you take a selfie, you're actually ugly.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Every time you take a picture of yourself, you get uglier though. Like,
yeah. Because your soul is ugly.
yeah.
I've always wanted to see. It's such a
really following.
okay.
So
So
basically,
you
how can I
explain. Say it. Okay, no, you do it.
Okay, so basically, there's this young guy called Dorian Gray who's like really physically attractive, young guy, right? And there's this artist who paints a portrait of Dorian, right? And Dorian's quite a naive, arrogant young guy, right? And he's like, and this guy called Lord Henry like talks about how beautiful he is and says it's the most important thing and how he should take pride in his beauty and how beauty should be the highest. Well, yeah, youth and linking that to beauty. You know, he said beauty is a form of genius and he should maintain his youth as much as possible and things like this. So then Dorian looks at the portrait and he like wishes that the portrait would age rather than him, so he could preserve the good looks that are in the portrait and that he has now, and the portrait ages. And then it's like based on the narrative structure of the Faust legend, where this guy called Dr. Faustus makes a deal with the devil to sell his soul for eternal knowledge and power, right? And it's like Dorian is selling his soul for aesthetic beauty and youth. And then you see throughout the book how Dorian becomes more immoral and hedonically driven, so just driven by his pleasure impulses. And the more things he does that are immoral, the uglier the painting gets, like supernaturally. But he preserves his youth and his good looks until eventually, he does things like he murders people, he buys expensive things, he just like goes down this dark rabbit hole in his life. The painting's like a symbol of that, and then eventually stabs the painting, and we find out he actually stabbed himself.
I feel like Disney's Rapunzel is kind of inspired by that from what you just said, because in that the mother uses the girl's hair to stay young until she like.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Tangled, isn't it? Not Rapunzel. The girl's called Rapunzel. Yeah,
it's another example of that. Yeah,
it's like how
you explaining that. You should clip that. You explained that perfectly.
Oh, thank you.
Explain that.
It does maybe want to read it. Like, yeah.
No, I think you nothing really more to add. To be honest with you.
I'll say that. Yeah, no, it was good. It made me think a lot about the difference between how much we value appearance over real action and real morals. Like you can present yourself in such a way, but it's kind of like actions speak louder than words, but expanded. It's like you can try and you can say so much and make people think that you're a certain way, but are you actually that way?
Yeah, but what's interesting about Dorian is he didn't even know he was beautiful till someone told him. It's kind of like a link to narcissism in a way. It's like he didn't see his reflection. When he finally noticed his reflection, he fell in love with it.
Well, he's compared to
the symbolism. Yeah. It's a symbol of. He's also like a narcissist. He's like the character of Narcissus, which is really interesting. Fell in love with his own reflection.
Yeah.
Is there like a analogy there where, because it's like beauty and it's like looking outwards, you need to like value people their inside?
The painting is his soul, like is a symbol of his soul. So like he might preserve his good looks and youth, but the painting deteriorates, and it's a reminder to him every time he sees it of how his soul is declining, and that's why he keeps it in the attic. He represses it in the attic. It's a symbol of the unconscious. He represses the fact that his soul is deteriorating, and he continues on this journey of satisfying pleasure until eventually he can't take it anymore.
He just lacked prudence. He didn't have internal reflection. He only had external reflection. That's the one he valued more than anything. He liked what the mirror said about his face, but there was no mirror to look into that spoke of the inside. And that portrait, unfortunately, is the mirror of his insides. An ugly painting, him rotting away, he sees flesh, mold, it's disgusting. And that's how his soul is. He's not a very good person. So I guess you could argue Oscar Wilde was trying to present that true beauty of the internal. The external does a lot of things, but external beauty could lead to hedonism, immorality. It's probably warning you the dangers of being beautiful too. Because, you know, Oscar was a dandy. He was a very hedonistic person himself. Actually got arrested and put into prison for being gay, interestingly enough. Then he moved to America. He's a good example of British culture and American culture. In Britain and Ireland, he wasn't really appreciated. People didn't really like Dorian Gray. But in America, he blew off, attending Harvard, lectures, everything. So, yeah. Oscar Wilde is a household name, but he's not really household read.
Yeah, people are more aware of like his controversies and his sexuality and the consequences of that rather than the actual work he did.
Yeah, I've got the book as well, the complete poetry of Oscar Wilde too. Some amazing poems in there. He was definitely a hedonist though, or an Epicurean for sure.
Was an Epicurean?
They kind of think the meaning of life is pleasure. All pleasure.
Wasn't he like a key figure in what was like called the aesthetic movement or whatever it was, where it was like life was about beauty and appreciating beauty, kind of like a development on that idea of pursuing pleasure?
I don't want to say yes, but I think so.
I think we looked at that when we were studying.
What time period was this?
I think this is the...
It was 1890. Dorian Gray came out.
Oh yeah, 1890, which I think is the greatest era. Greatest era. No, that the 19th century, so like 1800 to 1900, arguably the greatest era ever for art. And I was talking about music. You had Beethoven, you had Bach, then you had Nietzsche, Karl Marx, then you had Schopenhauer, then you had Oscar Wilde, then you had Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, Napoleon. You had von Bismarck, like just an era, like a Van Gogh, Dali, Picasso. I can go on and on and on and on and on. Dickens, like you can go on. Darwin, flipping hell, like you can keep the ball rolling. That era was a fantastic era because it was the liberation of all absolutism in Europe. Before that era, a lot of knowledge was always controlled. Creativity was controlled by patrons and Christian homage you have to pay. But that century was kind of the first century for a long time where society said, okay, create whatever you want.
What's absolutism?
Have you heard of the power? Have you heard the quote, absolute power corrupts absolutely?
No.
What could absolute power mean?
Full control.
So give me an example.
Fascism.
What a leader is an example.
A leader is an example. Hitler.
Henry VIII?
Henry VIII was a fascist.
No, an absolutist. He was an absolute ruler. No one went against his words. The only reason is absolute rule. Stalin, Lenin, Mao, Jinping to a certain extent, Putin at this point, absolute power. So, that's something I read interesting recently. It said, society can't change unless after every scientific revolution, everything in society changes.
Every scientific revolution, did you say?
Yeah. Every time there's a scientific breakthrough or scientific revolution, everything in society has to change. But when there's like a cultural revolution, or artistic revolution, nothing changes. When there's even a military revolution, nothing really changes. But a scientific revolution destroys all the fabrics of society. You're forced to start again.
So do you think that the reason we're in a kind of a state of change at the moment, or you're saying we're reaching a boiling point, is because of the technological revolution that's going on now and all of that stuff? But that's all.
we live in a spider web, you know. So not everything is not just one thing causes everything. Like everything is interrelated in a way. Like in the human body, for example, if you've got aches in your arms, that doesn't mean your arms are aching. The symptom could be somewhere else in your body, innit? So you might have something wrong with your heart, but the symptom is showing up in your back first. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
You might have a neck pain here, but that might be actually a liver issue. But the symptoms are showing somewhere else, but the real issue is here. That's the same with our society, literally the same way. We're getting the symptoms over here, but the real cause might be over here. You know what I'm saying? But the problem we do is we see symptom and we say the issue is here. So we see, for example, say gangs, the rise of young gangs. Yeah. This is a symptom. Must be the issue that young people don't have fathers. But really, it might be an issue stemming to the culture we created about money. And the symptom about valuing group identity, about young people making money, is the symptom off of this culture we created, for example. What's another one? We could do another one right now. People find the symptom is a lot of people drop out of university. But the symptom isn't universities are getting worse. The symptom is that university education is getting worse and worse and worse. But the real issue isn't within the universities. The pain is somewhere else to be found. Maybe in the government, maybe in the curriculum itself. You get what I'm trying to say?
That's a very good analogy. So if we correct the core problem, then the symptoms will disappear.
Yeah, and perfectly. Not disappear, but we can limit the symptoms.
Yeah.
Or in essence, what are the core problems? Now, that's a difficult question to ask. Because now you've got to really understand the symptoms. And really, because in other words, you really have to become a doctor of society. Hence what a philosopher is. Hence what a sociologist is. They're able to locate symptoms in society and work out the core problems to it. We don't have many of those nowadays. And think about the education system. It's being dumbed down for the last 30 years now. So those adults that will go to these are already dumbed down education system are the ones passing information to us. They're dumbed down to dumb down to dumb down. More important that we have more doctors in society. And if you want to know what a doctor of society is, read Plato's The Republic. That's all you need to do. In fact, any book you're reading right now, stop reading it. Just read Plato's The Republic. And if you don't get what's going on, keep reading it to keep finding out what's going on. It's a book that is so well worth your studies, it's a ridiculous joke. Plato's Republic by itself dwarfs all of Dostoevsky's books, in my opinion.
What? Yeah, I'll do that because I'm reading like a general philosophy book now, but I'll go back to Plato's Republic.
Yeah, don't see people read those general philosophy books. Yeah, I say take the challenge and read it for yourself. See, what you've done is you've paid for a middleman. You've paid.
This is gifted to me
to help you. Oh, fairs.
Well,
not society.
I read like half to 3/4 of Republic.
Oh, that's the greatest book ever.
I didn't understand that much of it, but I will read it again.
Take your time, bro. It's a book that you have to understand at some point. You'll get it. You will get it one day. Because trust me, I bought it for the first time when I was 18. It sat on my shelf for Stamicus, Adimantus. What are all these names, you know?
Yeah.
And then the Greek names are really hard to get to. But once you start individualizing them, feeling Thrasymachus for who Thrasymachus is, you start to differentiate him. When you read Adimantus, you'll be like, okay, that is clearly Adimantus. And then when you get to Socrates, wow, what a man.
Joe, you need a book to read. I'll give you that as well.
Well, if you want to start on Plato, yeah, I always say to people, if you want to start on Plato, and the Republic is a big burger to bite, there's no joke about that. Read the Symposium. Start off there.
I was also...
It's 100 pages.
I was reading like some Stoic stuff the other day, and then I saw like the Lyceum, the title of your podcast.
The Lyceum, yeah.
Lyceum, yeah. Like, what does that mean? School. Ah, okay.
Schools in France are called lycées. Lycée and Lyceum. Or the Lyceon in Greek. Aristotle. But yeah, the Lyceum, yeah. A few people have done that to me. You know, people like send me a picture of it anytime they see the word Lyceum in a book or on in London, there's something called the Lyceum Theatre. So many people send me pictures like, oh, Lyceum Theatre. I'm like, okay, I get it. It's Lyceum. Thanks.
No, it's because I didn't know what it meant, and then I finally saw it, and I was like, oh, he took it from here.
People ask me why I call it the Lyceum. It's just the school podcast.
Yeah, no, I feel that. Yeah,
I love the word. It's just a nice ring, Lyceum.
mm.
I actually like it, I've never deeped it till now, because so many times I've considered to change it.
No, I keep it.
I would have thought my interpretation of the style is like it's something to do with a museum or something similar.
Yeah, the Lyceum, the Lyceum. I went to it in Athens when I went. There's a literally called the Lyceum, and it's the ruins of Aristotle's school. And I was walking through the school and the ruins, and I was just like, what a place! Like the fact that the greatest thinkers through the ancient Greece used to come here and just talk about life. It was already settled. Whatever I do has to be called the Lyceum. I started a writing page before the podcast page, and it was called Riyad's Lyceum. Like, I just love the word Lyceum. I don't know why. Just the name that rings true. And one day I want to open my own schools. It'd be called the Lyceum or Riyad's Lyceum. Yeah, I just think that's my dream, to open schools.
Would you do something differently? Like, would it be?
Don't know yet.
All right.
I don't know yet. What do I know? I'm 24, bro. This is the world. Who knows what the world will look like in 20 years? Who knows? The things that we might not value today might be valued at some point. The world we live by trends, so things change quick. We don't really have a set in stone culture as it is for the young. It's just trends. The only thing that lasts in our culture is GTA. That's the one thing that no matter what race, political identity you have, you just like GTA. Or football. Which I will say, when that game comes out, I will be podcasting for a long time. And I'm going to call in sick for work. Everything. Okay. I'm going to give my students 7 cover teachers. Give them all cover work. I'm staying at home.
I had a rumor that GTA 6 is like something integrated with real money. You can like earn real money off the game or something.
No way. Serious?
It was just a rumor. I'm not sure.
I don't think that
well, it's going to be big.
That would F up the economy worldwide, wouldn't it? What economy is this benefiting?
Well, it's kind of like
America's?
It could be like a Second Life.
I reckon they'll have a social media network on the game that you can actually use properly. I reckon so. I reckon they'll get that far.
Yeah, that's cool. We can
Then if you wanted to leave one, well, I still got that. I can give you 10, 15. Just giving you the heads up now.
Yeah.
Meal prep, eat my dinner, and hit the haystack, man.
Yeah, man. Same. I'm knackered. Yeah. I'm interested because I find that I don't read as much as I'd like to. When in the day do you put aside time to read, and like, is it the same every day?
You don't put time aside to read, you integrate it with your time.
Okay, elaborate.
Okay, how many times do you swipe on your phone on your reels?
Oh, maybe when I'm just on the toilet having a shit.
Okay, we'll read on the toilet having a shit then.
True. But I feel like if I spent those 3 minutes while I'm pooing reading a book and I read like a page,
Okay, that's different. How'd you get to uni?
It's about a 5-minute drive to where I park outside the lecture hall. I think the time I could read is when I'm eating, but then I feel like, is that all right? Is that acceptable?
Oh, bro, you just told me straight up you don't care that much to read.
True. Okay.
What can I do for you, bro? You have to have the desire to do it. As I say, how can I eat more? Well, you're gonna have to just do it.
And Joe, it's not like you don't care. You used to read like mad.
Yeah, that's what I don't understand. Is like,
but I also understand as a uni student, bro, it's hard to read. At uni, I weren't reading much. I'll just be so real with you. Maybe a book a month or a book every couple of months. I was just used to girls, smoking weed, drinking, going out with my boys, chilling. That's a lie, actually. That was the last 6 months of my uni life. All that time before, I just used to and just watch philosophy videos all night. every night. I wasn't really watching. I'm just saying, if you're not reading, at least watch it. As long as you're consuming it one way, that's all that matters.
Oh man, I listen to like an hour or two of podcasts a day.
Then I get to a point where you have to start reading. Because reading develops articulation. It develops vocabulary. At the end of the day, what you guys are doing is expressing your opinions on the world, and your expression will only be as efficient as your vocabulary. If your vocabulary is less, your ideas are less.
Mm-hmm.
Because you need to capture everything you're seeing in your head, everything you're feeling needs to be how? Are you painting pictures? Are you making movies? No, you're talking. So the vocabulary has to be, let's think of it in a way where the product's inside of your head, the vocabulary is just the boxes you put the product in, and your tongue ships it off. That's all it is. And if your shipping process isn't good in your mouth, then your ideas and your product's going to go to waste.
Yeah.
Reading is that training.
The instrument that makes the right noises to make the beautiful song.
Exactly. Your tongue is essentially music.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm happy to wrap it up there because I better go as well. It's soonish, but thank you, man. Thanks for coming back on again.
I appreciate it, man. I actually appreciate this conversation. I always love talking to you, Lance, and ignore the hate, man. Fuck them. Honestly, ignore it, man. You're doing good. Keep it up.
Yeah, you too, man.